morning, Matrix. That's a bit of Candy Stanton. Staten. Is that Mandela effect? No, I didn't even know that was the name of the artist that did that tune, but You've Got the Love has been a tune that's been in my life since I was roller booting at the roller disco when I was a mere boy. Anyway, I've got to stop myself from saying I hope you're all well, because everybody's saying I hope you're all well. Look out for the Orwells. Right, this video is going to be entitled Mandela Effect and the Art of Bullshit. And I've had a flea in my ear, as it were. That's kind of an expression from my dad. Yeah, over some stuff that I've seen. And I know many people go through this, and I really do think it is kind of the effects of the Hoffman contact lenses. It's all these new perspectives on what the Mandela effect is, and all these new kind of groups that are forming. I've never really kind of got too caught up in that because yeah, they just accept any. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be accepted, but it seems very, very haphazard and kind of organised chaos. You know, it's becoming a joke. You know, and there's people looking really deep into things and giving their meaning of it, and saying that is the only meaning, and it can sound very convincing. And I've got a scene in my mind from The Usual Suspects with Verbal Kint, aka Kaiser Soze. You know, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist. For anybody that hasn't seen the film, close your ears now. For those of you that have, I don't even think I've got it here. Yes, I do. I've got a broken piece of china, and I was hoping it'd say Kobayashi on the bottom. It says Pontessa. But yeah, that last scene when the cop turns around and he looks at the notice board, and he basically just all the bullshit that Kaiser Soze has kind of reeled off this story, just from all these like little things that he's seen all over this board in front of him. What I'd like to entitle like the Mandela paint palette. You know, and he's just painted this picture for the cop, and the cop bought it, hook, line and sinker. And then when he drops his cup and he sees on the bottom of the cup the lawyer's name, Pete Postlethwaite, who was in Animal Farm. There we go, we're back to Orwell again. He was in the, it was a TV version, I think, or it was an actual movie rather than an animation. And it's, yeah, I got a real, I'm still getting loads from Animal Farm as a story, because it's just a prophecy. It really is. When the pigs start colluding and changing the words and the names, I think that's much more Mandela effecty than kind of, yeah, somebody else made that reference and that connection. I don't want to kind of take credit for that. There's this other thing as well about people taking credit for things, and I've got this term and I've got the other term. But yeah, the bullshit artists. I've been tempted many times in my life to wade into this arena of conspiracy or unreality kind of pondering, and I could weave such a intricate story out of the things that I have around me. And I believe we do this all the time anyway. That is the imagination. But that story that we perceive or that we start to kind of understand isn't necessarily the truth. It's often an allegory and a metaphor. And I wanted to talk a little bit, I'm all over the place today. Yeah, I was going to entitle this video Weird is the New Normal. And the word weird actually means fate, or to do with fate. It's connected to fate. I looked up the meaning. That's weird as in W-Y-R-D, the original kind of spelling. It's really interesting to look up the meaning behind weird. But what it now means is obviously strange, bizarre. In fact, the adjective is suggesting something supernatural or unearthly. Weird, inhumane sounds. Informal, very strange, bizarre, a weird coincidence. You know, all sorts of weird and wonderful characters. And then the anarchic meaning is connected with fate, which is like the old time, the old school meaning. It was always connected with fate when you'd say weird. So yeah, that's a bit weird. And my weird little going on yesterday was a rabbit hole about rabbit holes and about Alice and something that's been called or coined Alice in Wonderland syndrome. And before I read any more of this, or before I infect your sphere of influence with this idea, I just want to kind of do what we should always do on Wikipedia or anywhere. This article includes a list of references, but its sources remain unclear because it has insufficient inline citations. Please help us to improve. They always want to improve, Wiki. But yeah, I'll just read a little bit about this syndrome, or what people are saying this is, or an idea. This is just an idea. It's probably the anatomy of a bad idea. Alice in Wonderland syndrome is a disorientating neurological condition that affects perception. People experience size distortion as micropia. I'm struggling with the blue words because I don't have my my glasses on. Size disorientation may occur with other sensory modalities. It is often associated with migraines, brain tumours, and the use of psychoactive drugs. It can also be the initial symptom of the Epstein-Barr virus. AIWS can be caused by abnormal amounts of electrical activity, causing abnormal blood flow to parts of the brain that process visual perception and texture. Anecdotal reports suggest that the symptoms are fairly common in childhood, with many people growing out of them in their teens. It appears that AIWS is a common experience at sleep onset. It has been known commonly to arise due to lack of sleep. Signs and symptoms. The hallmark signs of Alice in Wonderland syndrome is a migraine. AIWS may be part of the cause of the migraine. AIWS affects the sense, vision, sensation, touch and hearing, as well as one's own body image. Right. I didn't really want to read any more of this yesterday, and the more that I do, the more that I see that it's just people giving a diagnosis of something that can't be explained. They're trying to explain it away and go, oh, it's hallucinations, it's because you're too tired, it's because you're about to go to sleep, it's this, that, the other. We call it this because Alice in Wonderland talked about these things, when nobody actually really kind of looks at what was being said in Alice in Wonderland, and indeed what was the true wisdom inside that tea at the tea party, and why that rabbit was in such a rush, you know, and what the rabbit hole symbolised, and what Alice brought back when she came back from going down the rabbit hole. If somebody starts to kind of have these experiences, and they were to go to the doctor, and the doctors have got kind of access to stuff like this, which they all do now. They've all got tablet, oh, it's this, you know, and the way I see it is lots of people are having this experience, or enough people are having these experiences for somebody to kind of make a syndrome out of it. Anyway, the radio's come on to interrupt me today. But yeah, so don't buy in to any diagnosis. As soon as that started mentioning, oh, it's connected with brain tumours and all that, been there before. Fear porn, total fear porn. If anybody who is claiming to know what the Mandela effect is, and they've got somewhat of a bigger sight than you, they're just doing a fucking Kaiser Sose on you, man. They're just taking all that stuff and they're going, this is what it means. It's actually a brain tumour, or it's actually this, or it's actually that. Now, I don't promote fear porn. Anybody that says that, you know, anybody that says, no, I don't lie, you know, is kind of like those people that say, I hate to say I told you so, and then go on to say I told you so. That reminds me of a favourite quote of mine from Shantaram. And she's a rather really big character. And she says, I don't get it when people say, I hate to say I told you so. I love to say I told you so. In fact, I like saying I told you so more than I like chocolate. I try to say I told you so at least once a week to Govinda. So yeah, these people that kind of claim to know, and they'll have their round table discussions, and they'll be the wise owls, and they're kind of it's Munchausen syndrome. They are the healers. They're trying to fix you. They're trying to give you support when you should be supporting yourself. They're trying to give you answers when you should be trying to find your own answers. You know, and if you find connections or comfort in things like that, it's mostly nonsense. You know, we just come here to listen to people talk, you know, and I knew this channel would be reduced to the absurd, and I'm at nearly, what am I, 84 subscribers, and when this thing gets to 88, you're going to see some serious shit.